In this video, I will be replacing the spark module on a GE Café range model C2S980. If you have a similar range, you can verify your model number by opening the bottom warming drawer and finding the tag on the left as shown here. The problem I'm trying to fix is that the igniter for the center burner is no longer generating a spark. So while the rest of the burners work correctly, like this one for example, the center one will keep clicking away, but it just won't ignite. Now we need to do a bit of detective work. How do we figure out what the problem is? When an igniter isn't sparking, the guilty party will almost always be the igniter itself, the spark module, or the cable connecting the two, which could be wet, frayed, or otherwise faulty. To narrow down the problem, I pulled out the broken center burner, looked at the bottom of the igniter through the hole, and noted that it was connected to the white wire. I did the same with one of the working burners and noted that it was connected to the yellow wire. I then opened the back panel of the range, swapped the white and yellow wires on the spark module, and tested both burners again. Now the center burner ignited just fine and the other one didn't, and that made me pretty certain that it's the spark module that's not working right. For a little added challenge, GE stopped making the original spark module a while back, so instead we will need to use this new model, which you can buy online. Now it's time to do the actual work. First things first, go to your circuit breaker and shut off the power to the stove so you can work safely. The next step is to slide out the stove so we can access the back. I find that this is a bit easier if I remove the oven door first. To do this, open the door just a bit to where the hinge wants to hold it in place. Then, pulling upwards with equal force on both sides, you should be able to lift the door right off. Now is the slightly scary part in which you have to kind of wiggle and slide the oven away from the wall. If this hasn't been done in years, it might be a bit stuck in there, but with some patience, you should be able to get it out. At this point, I would recommend that you stop and take a look behind the stove just to make sure that the power and gas lines are not stuck in any way and can move freely. Now that we have access to the back, this is the panel that we're going to need to remove. Do a quick scan around it so you can see all the screws you're going to need to take out. The two clips that I'm highlighting here are the ones that hold the spark module in place. So now let's go ahead and remove the back panel. When you're about to remove the very last screw, make sure you hold the panel so it doesn't fall off. Pull it away gently and then release the spark module by unlatching the two clips that I highlighted earlier. Now you can disconnect the old spark module by detaching all the wires. You'll notice that there are 5 wires with a white squarish plug which go to each of the 5 burners. In addition, there are 2 power wires, one white and one purple, and a ground wire that is screwed into the back of the stove. The instructions that come with the new spark module are a bit of a joke, with fuzzy black and white pictures trying to show what you're supposed to do with a bunch of color wires. So here's what you really need to know to install the new part correctly. The white power cable goes into the power slot labeled L. The purple power cable goes into the power slot labeled N, and the green ground wire goes on the opposite end into the smaller slot labeled with the number 6. This will leave you with 5 open slots, one for each igniter wire. All of these slots are the same, so any of the 5 igniter wires can be plugged into any of the 5 slots. So now let's just quickly connect the real thing. And now, finally, time to cross our fingers and see if it worked. Turn the stove power back on at the circuit breaker and test the burners one by one. If all went well, we're now ready to put everything back together and call it a job well done. Okay, let's finish the job now, but before you do, don't forget to turn the power back off. First, you'll need to attach the new spark module to the back panel, and then it's just a matter of putting all the screws back on. All that remains now is to carefully push the stove back in, making sure that the power cable and gas line don't get jammed in any way. Finally, put the door back in, turn the power on, and we are done. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching, and please feel free to leave any comments or questions.